Well, hey there, Mama, and welcome back to the Moms Overcoming Overwhelm podcast, episode number 191. I'm Emily McDermott, and I'm here beside you on this journey as we work together to declutter your home, head, and heart. So let's get real. If your home is supposed to be a haven, then your bedroom is supposed to be the haven within the haven, right? But does it feel that way? Probably not. And maybe you're stepping over laundry piles, or maybe you're feeling like the walls are crowding you because you have so much big furniture, or maybe you just don't feel peaceful and restful in your home, and especially in your bedroom. So today we're going to be walking through my step-by-step process for decluttering your bedroom. It is the first in our room by room series. Super exciting, right? So go ahead, grab the notebook and pen, and let's dive into today's episode. Hey there, Mama. Are you tired of all the stuff crowding your home, calendar, and mind? Do you wish you could say goodbye to the endless to-do list running around in your head? Want to declutter but don't know where to start? You're in the right place. Welcome to Moms Overcoming Overwhelm, where you will find proven and practical solutions to declutter your home, head, and heart. Hi, I'm Emily, a wife, boy mom, and simplicity seeker. I struggled to get pregnant and felt overwhelmed until I discovered decluttering could create the physical and emotional space I needed to become a mom. Now, 2 kids later, I've transformed my life and motherhood by developing simple systems around decluttering, capsule wardrobes, kid stuff, cleaning and tidying, meal planning, time management, and more, and I can't wait to share them with you. If you're ready to reclaim the time and energy you crave, be present with your kids, and finally enjoy the life and motherhood you so deserve, let's kick overwhelm to the curb, shall we? Grab your lukewarm coffee, your notebook and pen, and clear off some counter space. Let's do this. I just want to say thank you to everyone who has left a rating or review. I love reading them, and actually this series was inspired by somebody that left a review asking me to go through rooms in our home. So if you haven't already, depending on your favorite podcast player, Apple Podcasts is still the biggest place where my listeners come from. So if you are listening on an Apple device, if you don't mind leaving a review for the show, I would greatly appreciate it. And if you can share it with a friend that maybe is being totally stressed out by their bedroom or any other room in their home, I would appreciate it. Okay, I'm so excited to dive into this. So you all know, if you have been listening to the show, that I geek out on the science behind clutter. And there are several studies that show that sleeping in a cluttered bedroom actually causes an increase in sleep disturbances and also decreased sleep quality. So that is why we are going to start in the bedroom. And I would, for this entire series, recommend the book, The Minimalist Home by Joshua Becker. I have it linked in the show notes today. He actually goes through step by step and room by room, and a lot of the tips are similar to the ones that you will find, but I also wanted to provide some of my own guidance based upon my transform method. So we are going to go through these steps, and the first is to ask yourself the 3 F's. Now, the 3 F's we go over in episode 42, and I have these episodes linked in the show notes as well, so you can access them easily. So the 3 F's are feel, function, and flow. So we're going to ask ourselves first, how do I want this room to feel? Typically, we want our bedroom to feel peaceful, calming, restful, a place of connection. Next, how do I want it to function? Usually, bedrooms have 3 main functions: sleeping, relaxing, and intimacy. Those are the 3 main ones. So we want to make all of our decisions through the lens of whatever our goals are for that space or how we want it to function. And then for flow, that really means how are you moving within the space? So if you have, again, big pieces of furniture that aren't really working well, or if there's things all over the floor or on surfaces, it can impede the function of the room. So we want to look through those F's and then really kind of come up with a plan. So step number 2 is to look kind of at the big picture of your bedroom and ideally how you would want it to be laid out. So maybe you haven't thought about that in a while as far as like the furniture you have and kind of the location of things. Or maybe you have, for example, we had a TV and a TV stand in the corner when we used to watch TV in this room. And then we realized we weren't really watching much TV at all, and it just was taking up space. So we got rid of it. So you can draw a simple floor plan if that's your jam, or just kind of look around the space and make some notes. Think also about lighting, if you have harsh lighting, if you might want to change that. Any kind of bright colors in your room, whether you like that or if it's more like visual noise. Remember, we're trying to support the goal of calm and peace. And because you are likely sharing your bedroom with your spouse or partner, you might want to bring them in on this conversation to have a discussion of the goals for the bedroom and how they want it to feel and function and flow as well. And here's a motivation hack that I learned from Casey. She's at That Minimalist Mom. We've had her on the show before. I have not tried this myself, but I would love it if you all would try it and let me know. To take a photo of the room as it is and then pop it into ChatGPT and ask if they can show like it's a person. Ask if it can show you what it would look like if the room were clutter free. And supposedly it can do that, which is amazing because we want to be able to visualize what is on the other side of our work to help motivate us, right? So that's a little motivation hack for you before we jump in to the real hard work, right? So step number 3, if you have decided to get rid of any big furniture, but that's currently covered in stuff or filled with stuff, then probably you want to focus on clearing those areas first and then moving on to the other areas. And otherwise, I would recommend that you actually start with surfaces and items on the floor first, because that can make you feel immediately more peaceful if you're able to do that. So when I've worked with clients in their bedrooms before, and they have cluttered surfaces, especially dressers, nightstands, that kind of thing, we're going to clear those things off. And then we're going to move to step number 5, which is the transform method, which I talk about at length in episode 174. And I just want to note that we're going to talk about clothing and closets separately, so I'm not going to get into that here. We're talking about the other things that you might have in your bedroom, okay? So we're going to kind of do this recap of the transform method specifically for your bedroom. Okay, you ready? Let's do it. So T is trash. So obviously as we're going through the room, anything that's trash, we want to go ahead and throw that away immediately. And then we have R, which is our relocation bin. So as you're going through, you might find that, yeah, I don't feel like I need 50 books in this room. Maybe I can have 2 or 3 that I'm reading at this time, and that I'm going to relocate the rest to maybe the den or the basement or where you might have some other books. A is anything that you know that you want to declutter, so that low-hanging fruit. So perhaps you found a book that you are done reading and you don't really feel like you need to hold on to, so you know you want to donate that to the library, for example. Or you find something that belongs to one of the kids in your room. That tends to happen a lot, right? So we don't want to move that back to that individual's room or the other part of the home right now. Just have a bin that's going to go to the other places in your home, okay? And then we're going to name what matters for our N, and we're going to go back to those 3 Fs, remembering, okay, what do I have in this room that is not serving the function of this room? Do I have a TV that is causing me not to sleep well because it's impacting my melatonin production, for example? You can tell I'm not a huge fan of having a TV in the room. That's a very divisive topic, but just an example. Or if you have a bunch of kids stuff in the room, then you're constantly thinking about your kids, while you're trying to rest. And also stepping on their stuff. Like, we don't want to be in our own room stepping on our kids' stuff, right? So naming what matters, and then always keeping that in mind as you're making those decisions. Then we're going to sort like with like, that's our S, so we can get a sense of volume, especially for books, because I find that people have books on their nightstand, in their nightstand, on the floor, in the closet, like a bunch of different places. So we want to get all of the books together, for example, and see, okay, how many do I have here? do I want to keep them, first of all? Second of all, am I reading any of them right now? And can I keep maybe the one or two that I'm reading right now in my nightstand, or perhaps one on the nightstand? We're going to talk about that in a minute. So that's just an example of sorting like with like, because you have to get a sense of the volume that you have. Now, F is to fill your set boundary with what you love or like first, okay? So right now, try to keep the surfaces clear. So we're just looking inside of drawers, or perhaps for any non-clothing that's in your closet. And I use Amazon boxes as drawer dividers. You can obviously buy fancier drawer dividers if you want to, but it helps keep things organized and sorted easily. That could be in your nightstand or your dresser, or really any other drawers that you might have. Now, before we move on to the next letter, which is O, I want to mention under the bed storage space. Now, we don't have it because of the way that our bed is constructed, but you want to really know what is under there and be intentional about it. So perhaps that's out of season clothing for yourself or the kids. You want it to be easy to access. You want it to be clear as to what it is. So perhaps you're going to have that labeled, whatever you're using for that. I know some of them have wheels on them so you can roll them out. So just be very intentional about what you're keeping under your bed and to know what's actually under there. I was just thinking, make sure there's no room for monsters under the bed, but that you know what's actually there, right? Okay, so now we're going to move on to the out of sight, out of mind bin. If you're going through and you have a lot of maybes, you're not really sure if you're ready to donate, using that out of sight, out of mind bin, putting a reminder on your phone to make sure you check in on that. And you might not want to keep that in your room. You might want to put that in the basement or another storage area, depending on what it is. And now we get to R, reflecting on what no longer serves you. Again, does everything in my bedroom support rest, sleep, intimacy, connection? And if not, can I get rid of it or move it somewhere else? And you want to curate what you have on your surfaces, because surface clutter can be visual stimulus overwhelm for you. And also, depending on what it is, it could represent undone tasks. And we don't want to be thinking about all the things that we have on our to-do list when we're sleeping, because likely, if you're like me, you're probably doing that already on your own. You don't need stuff to remind you of that. So we want to be very intentional about it. And something I read in the Minimalist Home that I forgot about, I read it years ago, is the convenience fallacy. And the convenience fallacy is that you have to have everything out and convenient in order for you to remember to use it. Now, I know some people, they worry that it's going to be literally out of sight, out of mind. But I think that there is a sweet spot for that, where, for example, on your nightstand, you could have your one book you're reading right now, and then you can have some other books in your nightstand, but you don't need to have a stack of books, for example. And the M is to maintain, and ideally we want to maintain on a daily basis. So you get ready for the day, and before you leave your bedroom, you're able to make sure that everything is reset. So there you go. That's how we work on our bedroom. And I want to mention two additional kind of footnotes, I guess, to this episode, which is that we talked about how you're likely not the only one in the bedroom, and your spouse or partner may have a different clutter threshold, as Dana K. White says, or they just have a different tolerance for clutter. And I always talk about my husband's pile of half dirty, half clean clothes on the windowsill, which I try to ignore. And part of it is just picking your battles, but part of it is seeing, hey, would you be willing to contain those things in a basket so it's not all over the place? Talk about what is actually stressing you out, or maybe having like one area that's just theirs and you have no say. So I'm sitting right now at the desk where my husband usually works, and he has a bookshelf over here with some trinkets and pictures and all of this stuff, which I would totally declutter most of it. But it's his space. So that is his space. He can have it look the way he wants. And then the rest of the bedroom, we try to keep relatively clear and peaceful. And we've come to that agreement together. The last thing I want to mention is that there tends to be a lot of sentimental items in the bedroom. We store a lot of them in there. So we want to have a curate and display mentality where we're showing the best of the best and the things that are most important to us. Otherwise, you can have a memory box. Maybe you have your own and your spouse's, or maybe you also have your kids' memory boxes in your bedroom too. Again, you want to try to contain it and have it be somewhat organized. But if it's clutter that you've inherited that you really don't want to keep, consider moving it to a different area in your home so it's not that like mental clutter, mental weight on you when you're trying to be in this peaceful space. So there you go. That's how we're going to approach the bedroom. I hope this is helpful. I'm really excited about this room by room series. So it's going to be every other week since we have interviews on the other Thursdays. And if there is a particular room that you would like me to focus on, you can come over to the free Facebook group, tinyurl.com/moms overcoming overwhelm, and let me know, or feel free to leave a review for the show. Tell me how you liked this episode and what you want to see. All right, I hope you have a wonderful week, and I will see you next Thursday. Bye for now. If you like today's podcast, here's what you can do. Just take 30 seconds to leave me a review. I know you're a busy mama. You're overwhelmed, in fact, but 30 seconds of your day makes such an impact. I'll be blessed by your words. They'll definitely make my day. And who knows, you might be entered for this month's giveaway. In Apple Podcasts, scroll down to write a review. Thanks so much for your time. I'm so grateful for you.